Hi there, it's Wayne Ferdine, and welcome to my webinar this afternoon. Before we get started, let me just touch on a couple of quick housekeeping points. I'll go to presentation mode in a minute, and I'll be sharing my screen with the presentation. If you have any questions, just click on the chat and enter those questions into the chat. Now, I won't be able to see the chat when I'm in presentation mode, but I'll come back to it at the end, and if there are questions, I will answer them then. And finally, when I'm in presentation mode, you'll probably see a small video in the bottom or top right-hand corner of your screen. Go ahead at that point, and you can move it around if you need to, so it doesn't block any of the stuff that's going on your screen. So here we go. I'm now going to share my screen and start the presentation. Just give me a second. Sharing. You should be able to see it now. And oops. Oh, why didn't it open at the very start? Let me get out of there. That was a mistake. Let me go and put it there. Now, there we go. Ready, aim, and fire. Silver bullets to business success. And here's the agenda for today. Quick welcome and introduction, coaching versus consultants. I'm going to introduce you to the 5 steps to freedom framework, the 22 silver bullets that live within that framework. This is really cool, the profit equation. Then I'm going to show you some next steps and options. And as I said, if there is any questions in the chat, I'll deal with them at the very end. So here's some common comments and concerns that I get when I'm talking to business owners. They don't teach us how to run a business in school. I actually had a business owner yesterday say to me, do I need to go and get an MBA? Because nobody ever taught me how to run a business. I thought I'd be further ahead by now. I can't take time off. This place would fall apart without me. Sales and marketing is really hard. Well, these are very common questions. Now, it would be great if I could have a steady diet of business coaching to keep me focused and on track to ever increasing results and income. Well, no one actually says that. I just wish everyone did. So here's 3 tough questions, and nobody's going to hear your answers, but answer these 3 questions. Are you happy with the amount of money you are pulling out of your business? How many people are currently on your team? And if you were starting the business over today, what percentage of them would you rehire? And number 3, on average, how many hours a week are you working? And are you, and not just you, but your family and loved ones, happy with that? Really important questions. We'll come back to these later. But if you can't answer positively to all 3 of those questions, you really do need to stay on this webinar for the next 45, 50 minutes and learn things that might make a difference in helping you change those answers. So why Wayne? Well, you're taking a quick look at this. I just wanted to give you a little bit more detail. I'm a typical small business owner. I had a great idea and a product, and I just wanted to make money on my terms and create a better life for my family. A few years ago, I had self-published my book, got it online, and waited for the sales to come rolling in. I believed the success of the book would maybe allow me to quit my day job and focus on building my new career as a sales trainer and mentor. As good a sales professional as I am, I quickly learned I suck at online marketing. So I went to online school, bought various courses, and learned from the best I could find. Over the next 18 months, I built a full online sales academy, created tons of great content. I set up online social media campaigns, bought online advertising, and again, waited for the sales to happen. Now, I did better than the first launch, but it was not spectacular. The truth hurt, but I really did not know how to set up my business correctly with strategic and discipline-specific tactical plans and systems, generate leads and create lists of prospects to market and sell to, or be accountable to get things done and stay on track. Then my wife and I were having dinner with good friends who were heading off to Arizona for 3 months to enjoy the sun and golf. In the middle of dinner, my friend asked me if I'd even considered becoming a business coach like him. I was dumbfounded as I'd never even considered it and asked him why he thought I should. He told me with my incredible background in sales and marketing and my leadership planning and team building skills from my military and executive positions, I was ideally suited to do this. So over the next 6 months, I refocused my efforts. I joined a structured coaching program and went even further and made sure I was personally getting coached. By doing just these two things, I've done more in 6 months than I did in over 5 years. If I'd only started this sooner, I could have avoided lots of costly, painful, and time-consuming mistakes. Now, all my strategic business and financial plans are in place and going well. I'm creating more leads than I could ever have believed possible, and my lists are growing daily. And I'm on track to have my best year ever, and the future looks great. So here's where most of us live. We live in our comfort zone. It's safe, and in most cases, we feel like we're in control. Where do we want to be? We want to be in our success zone, whatever that means to you. To get there, though, you got to move from fear through decisions to learning to growth. And that's really what sales and business coaching is all about, helping you move from where you are now to where you truly want to be. I got this report yesterday from the Royal Bank. This is quite interesting, very positive news. 82% of the entrepreneurs that they polled expect their business to actually ride out and survive the pandemic. 22% of them expect to prosper in the next 6 months, and that is awesome. The general public have to say a couple of things too. 80% has helped them recognize the value of the small businesses in their communities, and 81% want to directly support a local small business. So this is really awesome news. And entrepreneurship overall is thriving. You know, this number is US based. In the US, there are 7.2 million businesses, and 98% of them have fewer than 100 full-time employees. Unfortunately, 90% will fail within 10 years of startup. And by the way, these are pre-COVID numbers. So the Counselor to Small Business America, they tell us why. 78% of businesses lack a solid plan. 73% are way too optimistic about sales. It comes down to this. Typically, we overestimate what we can accomplish in the next 6 to 12 months, but we underestimate what we can accomplish in the next 3 to 5 to 7 years. And 77% are not pricing their products properly. They just tend to fall in line with the market when you don't need to do that. But here's the key one. 70% don't seek help. And the former president of Harvard Business School said this: if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. So what does a business coach actually do? Well, the business coach mentors the entrepreneur in growing their business so their incremental cash flow more than pays for their customized education. Don't look at coaching as an expense. It's an investment. And when you make an investment, you deserve an ROI. That's why it is incredibly important that you turn that investment into more net profit for your business. And if you're any kind of sports fan, you know this. Even if you're a sports mom or a sports dad and you've got kids that are playing sports, every winner has a great coach. And the very best of the best have great coaches. Whether you're a hockey fan and believe Gretzky's the greatest of all time, or a basketball fan and believe Jordan's the best of all time, Serena's still, taking names out there and winning tournaments. They all have great coaches. I get asked this question a lot. What's the difference between a consultant and a coach? And I like to use the metaphor of you want to go on a hike in the backcountry, a place you've never been before. Well, if you hire a consultant, what they're going to give you is a really great report. And it's going to have a detailed map of where you need to go, and everywhere you want to stop along the route is going to have detailed descriptions that you can read when you get there. A coach, on the other hand, is your tour guide. They go with you on the hike. You don't need to bring the map because they know the route. And when you get to a spot, they're going to sit there and describe that spot for you in tremendous detail. And you get to ask all the questions you want interactively. And when you've seen enough of that spot, you decide which spot to go to next, and away you go, you and your coach. Really important to understand that difference. So my role as your coach is to provide you three things: awareness of the possibilities in your business, education in business building best practices, and accountability to achieve peak performance. So my question is, can I be your coach for the next probably about 30 minutes or so? Here's the framework I work with. It's called the 5 Steps to Freedom. And every business goes through these 5 steps: creation, chaos or disorder, control, prosperity, and freedom. Every business tends to move a little bit up and down on this scale. Everything's not always perfect. And in COVID, a lot of businesses that were at step 3 or 4 have slid backwards back into a sort of a disorder phase again as they try and come to grips with the reality of COVID. I produced a video a couple of weeks ago. It's on YouTube. You can get it through my website that talks about what you can do as a business owner to really step up and provide leadership during a crisis. It's 24 minutes. It's a great video with some great tips and advice. So where are you today with your business? Well, embedded within the 5 steps to freedom are what I call our 22 silver bullets. And a silver bullet is simply a metaphor for a simple, seemingly magical solution for a difficult problem. And those silver bullets are broken up into the 3 primary categories of time, team, and money. Remember those 3 questions at the very beginning. Each one of them related to one of these 3 categories. Are you getting all the things you need out of the business financially? Do you have all the time you want to enjoy what you're getting out of the business? And do you have a great team? So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a high-level overview of strategic planning, but I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into the time management plan, team meeting rhythm, and tactical marketing plan, silver bullets, just to give you some exposure to how coaching can help your business. Before I do that, here's some foundations for a great business. Plan meticulously and execute flawlessly. This is actually one of the 4 pillars that I speak about extensively in my online sales training courses. Most people don't plan to fail. They just fail to plan. And the number one reason is the reality, and working with a lot of small business owners, they don't know how to plan. Nobody's ever taught them how to plan. Well, I actually have an incredibly powerful methodology that can work in any business to address any situation they've got to allow them to make a great decision and build the plan that flows from that decision. And it really is that simple. If you want to make a good decision, you need to have a clearly defined objectives. You need to look at the factors that impact those objectives. As you drill down on those factors, you identify conclusions, and those conclusions lead to options, and then ultimately to a plan. I know this is simple, or sounds complex, but it actually really is quite simple. And I'm going to actually do a workshop video, just like the one I did on how to deal with COVID, sometime in the next couple of weeks. And that'll be available for anybody to have a look at. But planning is a key skill set. It's a bit art, a bit science, but it needs to be done. And as you go through this, you're going to learn the power of so what. And I'll just leave that hanging until you have a chance to watch that video or have a chat with me. Here's the key to a truly successful business model. Systems run your business. Your people run your systems, and you lead the people. So if you're a solopreneur right now and you really don't have any people, then you have to do some of this, but you don't have to do it yourself. I mean, there are options for you to do some things on your behalf. You can contract out some work. I mean, one of the philosophies is eliminate, delegate, or automate. But as long as you're doing everything yourself, you're always going to be limited in truly how much you can grow. And we'll come back to this later. You want to build a profitable, exciting business that potentially could run without you? You need to have all of these different things in place. Everything from your vision and your mission and your culture to your team meeting rhythm and awards and celebrations. Now, this speaks more to the business that ends up growing and has staff. Again, if you're the solopreneur and you're doing everything yourself, you still need many of these in place, just not all of them. And it comes down to this: the right people in the right seats, exhibiting the right behavior. That's how you get the job done. And as the leader and owner of the business, you provide the strategic direction, the people strategy, and the management strategy. And all of those things we talked about in the earlier slide, they all fit into one or two of these slots. So it's a lot of information, but that's very foundational. So what is a strategic plan? Well, again, it's an evolving written plan that sets forth the vision, mission, and values of your company, your long and short range goals, and the KPIs to measure progress so your team moves together in one. Now, you can do a strategic plan on one page. I'm not going to drill down today into the details of the strategic planning process, but this is a critical add-on that we do with every small business owner we work with in our personalized coaching programs. All of them include a strategic planning initiative. And it's not about just a one and done, file it on the shelf and forget about it. It really speaks to a number of other plans that you need to implement in your business. And if you do have employees, it's critical that they are on board with this plan so that as they make the decisions on your behalf, they're doing it based on the guidance you've provided through this plan. Let's drill down no more into those specific silver bullets and look at how they can help you in your business. Time management plan. This is to address that challenge of I'm working from 8 to faint. I have no personal time. When was the last time I got to one of my kids' soccer games, and how does that make me feel? Those kinds of questions. Well, I can tell you clearly that if you work with me on a time management plan, I will always be able to find 4 to 6 hours a week. It's an intentional plan for investing your time wisely by blocking high-value activities onto a default calendar as appointments and holding yourself accountable for executing on them. Far too many people run their schedule on the back of a napkin, or they let tasks drive them, or the phone calls or the interruptions determine what they do on a daily basis. That's why you don't have time. Stephen Covey wrote an excellent book many years ago, and it's been updated a couple times. I recently reread it. It's awesome. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in there, he speaks directly to this issue of time management. He created the 4 quadrants. Is the work you do urgent or not urgent? And is it important and not important? And if you get down into the detail of all of this, highly successful businesses, the owners spend a lot of time in what we call quadrant 2, not urgent, important work. That's when you're working on the business and not in the business. That's your think time. You know, the important, urgent, there's always going to be those, kind of the firefighting mode. There's a crisis in the business that you need to address, and you're never going to escape from that. But the less time you can spend in quadrant 1 and quadrant 4 when you're in the business, the better off your business will be. Here's a great, simple thing every one of you can do. You can do a simple time study for a week. You can do this on a piece of paper. You can do it in an Excel spreadsheet. But what you want to do is break your day down into 15-minute increments. And if you start your day at 7 in the morning over a cup of coffee at the kitchen table, taking phone calls or reviewing emails, but you're working in the business and you go till 6 at night, well, then you should have time blocked off in 15-minute increments for a whole working week, and just write down what you did. If you had a half-hour team meeting, put in there, you know, in 2 15-minute increments, team meeting. If you had a business meeting out of the office and you had to drive for half an hour and then you were in the meeting for an hour, then you drove for half an hour, block that off. Just record everything. Don't be judgmental during the day, and don't wait till the end of the day. Try and do this after every task is complete so that it's very fresh and you know what you're doing. Then what you do at the end of the day is you go back and you identify, was that a quadrant 1, 2, 3, or 4 activity? And just make a note of it. And then at the end of the week, you add up all of the time that you spent in those 4 different activities. And it is shocking to a lot of business owners how much time they're spending in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. If you're spending way too much time in quadrant 1, it means you've either got some massive challenges with your business or you just don't have the right subordinate leaders to take a lot of the load off your shoulders. We can help with that. Because here's the objective through this idea of eliminating tasks that maybe just don't even need to get done, delegating, and understand that delegating is got a real skill to it. It's not about just telling someone what to do. You know, that's almost like abdication. You need to learn how to delegate and what tasks can be automated. It's amazing the tools that are out there today that you can use to get things done for you and at incredibly good prices. Because what you want to figure out is what is the most value you can add to your business. And when you're adding that value, what's your kind of hourly rate? If you were paying yourself as a consultant, how much would you charge? And then you look back and say, I'm doing quadrant 1 tasks, answering emails or or doing stuff that's, if I was paying somebody to do it, it's a fraction of what my time is actually worth. That's the key to all of this. And ultimately what you want to build is this default diary. This is my default diary as a business coach. I blocked off time in my calendar every day. I get reminders when the next event is coming up, and the focus is to ignore everything else that's going on if possible. And so what I've done in my business, I've got to do a lot of lead generation, sales, and marketing. I have specific time blocked off to do that. The yellow indicates kind of busy work, admin work. I got to do it. Some of it I can have outsourced or automated, but it's got to be done. And then I build in time for lunch and workouts and dinners, all of that. So you can build your own default diary once you've done your time study and you know where your time is being spent and how you really would prefer to spend your time. Really great exercise to go through. Team meeting rhythm. I don't know how you answered the question about if you restarted your business today, how many of those employees would you rehire? But it's not uncommon to hear half or less than half. So why is that happening in your business? Well, before you look at turning over your staff, maybe what you can do is focus on making your staff more committed to your business and supporting what it is you need done. And the team meeting rhythm is an awesome way, a disciplined rhythm of recurring team meetings focused on goal setting, alignment, reporting, and accountability that could occur on an annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily basis. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come out of the presentation, might work from the, before I do that. Talked about daily, weekly, quarterly, annually, 3 to 5 years, forever. And what happens is if you're talking about the daily meeting, what it's designed to do is get accountability by specific individuals on what they're going to accomplish that day. On a weekly basis, on the morning meeting, you can talk about what are we trying to accomplish over the course of the week, the schedule, when it's going to get done, and you give your team members an opportunity to chime in, and they actually make commitments for the week and for the day about what they're going to accomplish, and you create an accountability circuit, and it all comes back to the objectives that you're setting for the overall business. This actually ties in very nicely with the strategic planning exercise. When it's all said and done, you'll understand how it all plays together. So I'm going to see if I can just play this directly from here, but this is a great 2.5-minute video that really speaks directly to this. Let me see if this will come up. Oh, hold on. Let me pause that. And I have to do one thing up here. Share computer sound. Okay. Play.
But one of them is by far the most important, and that's the daily huddle. In fact, it was actually John D. Rockefeller who first turned me on to this idea. He was 20 with his brother and the 3 guys that helped him start the company, and they would walk to work together in the morning and at the end of the day walk home. And they realized that almost all the important decisions got made during those daily walks, not during the other 18 hours. And so when he moved to Standard Oil to New York City, even though the inner circle changed, he continued this daily huddle. What I find interesting, 100 years later, the late Steve Jobs did exactly the same thing at Apple. Understanding design was critical to Apple's success, he and Jonathan Ives had lunch every day. In fact, there isn't a company in Silicon Valley that would even think about operating successfully without the daily huddle. It's at the heart of both the Scrum and Agile methodology. So, what does it look like? Well, we see 3 major agenda items accomplished in roughly 10 to 15 minutes. First, what are we up to over the next 24 hours? That way we can avoid minor train wrecks and maybe take advantage of some synergies. Number 2, there should be some KPIs associated with your accomplishment, percent complete, dollars spent, so that we have a good sense of what the numbers are. And if I'm seeing every day, I'm going to see those patterns and trends much quicker. And then number 3, the most important agenda item are what are the stucks? What are the constraints? What's going to keep me from being effective over the next 24 hours? And at the heart of this meeting success is understanding that if you want to move faster, you need to pulse faster and communicate much more frequently. Now, what is the main reason the daily huddle fails? In one word, generalities. If I'm going to ask somebody, hey, what are you up to? They're like, well, look, I'm in some meetings, I'm talking to some customers, I'm doing email. Same thing I did yesterday. This thing's going to die quickly. What we're looking for is specifics. I want to know that I'm in a meeting to work on 4 different initiatives when everyone else thinking maybe there's 3. I want to understand that we're interviewing this particular person's name. Here is the issue that we're having with the customer. And if I'm working on a particular quote today, I want to know what that dollar amount is and who it's for specifically so that I can connect that in my brain with the rest of the team. If you want to dive deeper into this topic and learn about the different types of meetings called the meeting rhythms, go to our blog. Share it with your team, and if you have any questions, leave us a comment. Thanks for watching.
Okay, just let me turn that off. Background. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to share my screen again and pick up where we left off in the presentation. And I'll come down to where we were. Pick it up right here. Okay, so that was team meeting rhythm. That's an excellent video. That's Vern Harnish, by the way, and he wrote a book called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits, and every business owner should read that book. So let's talk about the tactical marketing plan now. This is an aggressive, measurable plan to increase your leads, improve your sales conversion rates, and increase your annual revenue per customer so your profits increase exponentially. I like to introduce this with what I call the Prospect Continuum. A lot of people don't understand this concept, but sales is really at its simplest fundamental 2 things. Find someone to talk to and then talk to them. You know, a lead is simply a name. That's all it is. If you get a lead come in from whatever resource, it's just a name. To turn them into a suspect, you need to have some kind of conversation with them, email, web, chat, phone call, whatever the case may be. If you generate a level of interest, or where they demonstrate a level of interest in what it is you have to offer, they become a suspect. If you identify a specific opportunity, then they become a prospect. And as you develop that opportunity, the objective is for them to become a customer. You can't go from lead to customer without being suspect prospect first. Now that can all happen in a single phone call that lasts a couple of minutes, depending on what you sell and how you sell it. At the other extreme, in sort of business to business corporate sales, this can take weeks or months. Here's the key. This first part, that's marketing. The second part, that's sales. And do you have specific plans in place to address both of those? I'm going to focus on marketing. There's all kinds of initiatives that you can take to develop the marketing to drive new leads into your business. You can do everything from hiring agencies to represent your brand. You can publish content. You can use TV. You can do digital marketing. I mean, right here, I list 11 different strategies. Conversion rates are driven by what's your brand, what's your unique selling proposition, what are your differentiators? Are you focused on making sure your team understands that to get a lead to a customer, the conversion is the selling piece, and are they using good principled sales techniques? You know, nobody wants to be seen as a sleazy salesman. There are some tremendously ethical sales strategies you can adopt that people will feel very good about. Remember this simple concept and think of it from your own perspective. Nobody likes to be sold to, but we all love to buy stuff. So by having strong marketing strategies and great sales management plans in place, you can bring those 2 together. Find those people that want to buy stuff and sell ethically to them to allow them to feel good about what they've just done. And it's about generating more new customers and getting those customers to spend more money with you, whatever that takes. That's a big envelope, but that's what you have to figure out. What's the best path for you to go down based on your business, your products or services? And so it's important to create a specific tactics plan. And I use this as an example, and may not be familiar with the terms hunting versus farming, but there are many tactics where you're specifically going out and searching for your leads. Those are called hunting strategies. And then there are other tactics where you're basically farming activities that help generate leads, but at a very different pace. For example, referrals is a farming tactic, getting referrals from existing customers, whereas telemarketing is a very aggressive hunting tactic. Now, for a solopreneur, a small business, maybe only a couple of staff, the numbers of revenue here, these are just examples. If you're already a business doing a couple of $1 million a year, you have to look at it and say, based on my monthly revenue, where should I be spending my time and effort? And really, there's 3 different categories. When you're really just starting out or you really want to grow your customer base, you should probably have 3 hunting and 1 farming strategy. When you've got a great customer base and you're doing a tremendous amount of business and you're getting lots of referrals, tremendous social proof, you may only need 1 hunting strategy and you have 3 farming strategies. Just whatever works for you based on the revenue and what your expectation for growth over the next time period is. As an example, lead generation, I recommend you pick 3 or 4, no more. You can't effectively manage more than that. And some of these require budget. For example, if you want to get into Google AdWords, that's a hunting strategy that costs money. If you want to do referrals, typically there's no cost associated unless you buy some of your customers, some lunch or go over and visit them with donuts and coffee. Personal networking, there may be a slight cost to join networking groups, but that's a farming strategy as well. So depending on the strategy you choose, you have to identify the budget associated with it and figure out how you're going to spend it and what the expectation for results is. When you've got that kind of tactical marketing plan and you tie that into your branding and you tie that into the sales management strategy, you could be unstoppable. So let me now speak to this. This is really a lot of fun. I really would love to be able to do this for you with your business. So this is just kind of a canned model of the art of the possible. And what the profit equation worksheet is going to do is show you that by simply pulling on a few of these levers. In the video, Vern talked about KPIs, really critical. These are standard numbers that you should know for your business. So let's just say in the last fiscal year, you generated 1,000 leads, and that you converted 25% of those leads, so you had 250 new customers. Coming into that year, you already had 2,000 existing customers, so now you have 2,250. Your average customer spent $360 a year with you, whether that was a dollar a day or $30 a month, whatever. That was the average spend per customer. So you have $810,000 in revenue. Your margin's 39, your gross margin's 39%. So your gross profit was $315,900. Your fixed cost, your rent, your hydro, your heat, whatever, $180,000. So your net profit's $135,900. Not bad if you're a small business. So what I want to do now is show you what happens if by implementing some of the silver bullet strategies, we simply adjust some of those numbers by a little bit. I'm not talking about doubling anything, but watch the power of this. We have our strategic plan. Remember, I talked about that being foundational. And every one of the personalized coaching programs I offer, strategic planning is included in what we do over and above the weekly coaching calls. Because here's what I'm going to show you. With simply a 10% increase on 5 of these measurements or metrics, we can generate 100% more profit. I'm going to show this for you because it doesn't sound believable. So let's implement a tactical marketing plan. Let's tie it to a sales management plan. Let's put in place an operations and training manual. And let's grow your leads from 1,000 to 1,100, just a 10% increase. I know a lot of people that say that's absolutely a reasonable expectation. And tied to that with the sales management plan, we're going to convert not 25%, but 10% more than that, or 27.5%. So now instead of 250 new customers, we have 303. That's a 21% increase. Now you started the new year, right? You had 2,000, you added 250. Now you're at 2,250, but now with the 303, you're at 2,553, a 13% increase. So what happens next? Next, we implement things like your unique selling proposition and guarantee. We put in that KPI system, those metrics that Vern talked about, that you talk about in the morning, the daily morning huddles. And we put in a lean program. Every penny you save has a huge impact on your bottom line. And all we're going to do now is increase your revenue per customer by 10% to $396 a year. That drives your revenues up by 25% to over $1 million. And by increasing your gross margin by 10% to 43%, your gross profit goes up by 38% to over $434. And the last piece of this, and I will tell you that this is maybe the toughest, is working on those fixed costs. They're fixed for a reason, but you know, sometimes they are adjustable. There can be things done to adjust your fixed cost. We really focus on putting in place some of those really critical financial plans, revenue and profit, current business plan, cash gap plan, implement the time management plan. And what happens is if we can reduce your fixed cost by 10%, overall now your net profit has actually gone up by a factor of 2 over the course of the year. What I'd love to do is have an opportunity to do this for you and see what that impact would be on your business. Because that's all we did was pull 5 levers, and it's the compounding effect of all 5 of these that creates the doubling effect of the net profit. Now, I've had business owners say to me, we can do 25% increase in leads. We can do 20% increase in conversion rate. There's no question those 2 at the very top can have a massive impact. If we dropped your gross margin and we only were able to raise it by 5%, but if we could change your leads and conversion rates by 20%, your net profit would be even more. So by making the bigger changes at the front end, and this is where most small business owners really struggle with the sales and marketing piece, because you know, you're a therapist, you're a plumber, you're an electrician, you know, your distributor, whatever it is your small business does, most don't have that background and comfort in the sales and marketing piece. So what's next? Remember, you asked those questions at the beginning, revisit them again now. If you're looking for a way to have all 3 of these in the plus sign, thumbs up every time you're asked, then these next steps are important. What I recommend is you schedule your complimentary profit equation review session with me. And it's a 2-step process to do that. I want to do like a 15-minute phone call, just a phone call, not video. Just let's get on the phone and talk. Let's talk about your business. Tell me what you do in detail. Tell me what's working really well right now. And then tell me where you'd like to see some room for improvement. So you can book that on my calendar at takeactionresults.com/15-minute. No harm, no foul. The objective, if we feel through that 15-minute call there's value, then what we'll do is we'll book a 60 to 90-minute version of the profit equation review with you. It can be shorter, it can be longer, just depends on your business and the questions you got about how do we do X, Y, or Z. What are those real big challenges facing your business, and how do we adjust and adapt and put in place strategies to help you deal with them, and what impact will that have on your profit equation? To make things simple, I have a guarantee for my clients. If I cannot generate enough net new profit to pay for my coaching within 4 months, I'll continue to coach you at no cost until we do achieve that profit milestone, or for up to 4 months, whichever comes first. And there's some small print. You need to do your part. Remember, I'm the tour guide, but you got to be there with me every step of the way. Every week, we'll work together and we'll make commitments to each other about what we're going to accomplish over the next week. I'm not going to be your marketing agency, but I can help you get all of that in place. So 2 options for coaching with me. You can have personalized coaching, or you can have group coaching. 3 programs within the personalized coaching: silver, gold, and platinum. Now, this is really hard to read, so I have a matrix I'm going to show you in a second. What you can see, if you look closely, is that every one of these has strategic planning included in them. And here's how the personalized coaching process works. When we agree to get started, we get together and we start. The very first meeting is all about getting input from the business owner. And if you have key members of your team that you want to participate, that's up to you. And you make decisions about what are the top 3 or 4 desired outcomes you want to accomplish, again, in the next 3 to 6 months. And from those outcomes, we put in place a plan for those 90-day objectives, first 90-day objectives. That's what's really critical. And then we execute on that plan. Plan meticulously, execute flawlessly. And part of that execution, we build a weekly coaching agenda, and we're going to revisit those 90-day objectives every week. We're going to measure, we're going to monitor, we're going to adjust, and we're going to adapt. What we're not going to do in the first 90 days, unless we blow through those objectives massively, we're not going to adjust them. It's important to stay focused on the objectives. If we just keep moving the goalposts, we'll really never know when we met or achieved any of the objectives. So that's the process. And here's a comparison chart. And again, if the video is blocking any of this, you can move it, just click your mouse and move it around. It's a monthly subscription fee. There's a one-time startup cost. A lot of things are included in that one-time startup cost, depending on the program you choose, the Silver Kickstart, the Gold Results, or the Platinum Amplify. The investment that you make into this program is either, from 3 hours a week at the low end, potentially up to 8 to 10 hours a week on the Platinum program. The coaching sessions are basically every week, and we can skip a week if we've got a personal thing that gets in the way, but we always make up. We always make up. And the coaching sessions run from 45 minutes to up to 2 hours. We do strategic planning sessions. We do quarterly updates of the strategic plan. If you've got a team, we'll do a team day where once the strategic plan in place, come in and work with the team so they understand it all. For smaller teams, that's sometimes broken down into 2 half days just because of the nature of the business. Maybe it's just key leaders in the team the first time around. There's a tremendous amount of learning material that's provided, templates and systems, and they're all included. And you can see here, and depending on the size of your business, we'll even do customer consultation with you and supplier consultations. And so there's tremendous value in these programs. Those are the 3 personalized coaching options available. Basically something that fits every budget, and remember the guarantee. And here's a webinar special. If you complete that profit equation review with me within 2 weeks and a couple of days, then I'll cut the one-time cost for the first month startup cost by half. So that can be a savings if you decide to come in on the Platinum plan of just under $1,250. So again, 2-step process: book the discovery call. We'll book the 60-minute to 90-minute virtual meeting following that, and you just do that on my calendar. Pretty simple to do. Group coaching. Really, this is for business owners that maybe want to stick their toe in. It's be part of a cohort of like-minded business owners to learn and grow together. 4 to 8 owners in a cohort, 16-week program, 90 minutes per week. And at any time, you can upgrade to personalized coaching and get credit for the money you've already spent. So in the group coaching program, this is what a typical agenda will look like, assuming we had 8 participants. We'll start by doing a round robin. What's your win of the week or what's your success story of the week? Take 3 or 4 minutes each to do that. Then each of you get a chance to ask a question. And that's where we start to see the synergistic effect. It's not about me just preaching. It's not about me just telling you, but you've got other business owners that may have experienced the same challenges. So we'll take about 5 minutes every week. So in the first week, will sort of be the setup and organizational. Everybody introduces themselves. We have a couple of teachings, but they were going to set up and ask one owner the following week they'll be the last question, and it'll be kind of a bigger challenge that you're having as a business owner. And we're going to take 20 to 30 minutes as a group to help you come up with some ideas. We're going to brainstorm. We're going to have tremendous synergy, and you're going to be able to see what you can implement immediately in your business. And then a takeaway of the week. Everybody will go quick round robin. What did you learn from this week that you can immediately put to use in your business? It might not even have been based on the question you asked. It could have been something else. I go, wait a minute, I can do that. So this is it's a totally different model. The next cohort starts literally next week, a week from now, and they'll be from 4 to 5:30 p.m. PST. There's no perfect time when we're dealing with multiple time zones. So that's 7 to 8:30 on Eastern time zone. But we're excited about that. And the investment for that is $450 monthly for the 4 months, or one payment of $1,500. And again, the guarantee applies. If you don't get the value out of it that you put into it, you can join a second cohort later on. Now, for this first 16 week, if you look at the calendar, that includes Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So we won't be doing them that week. So this one will extend. It'll actually take us 18 weeks to do the 16 sessions. They will all be recorded. If something happens and you just can't make a meeting or have to leave early, you'll be able to go back and watch the replay. The problem that week, hopefully, is not the week you were supposed to ask the big question. So again, a webinar special. If you can complete your profit equation with me by the 23rd, you'll save $50 a month, or you'll save $200 if you decide to do this as a single payment. And again, still the same process. Book a 15-minute call. I need to learn about your business. We're not going to be working at the same level as personalized coaching by any means. This is more general, but we still need to go through the process. So if there are questions, I'm going to stop screen sharing in a second so I can see if there are questions, but I'll just leave this up here for a second. This shows, again, the group launch, silver kickstart, gold results, or platinum amplify, whichever works best for you. Let me stop sharing. And let me just now go look in the chat. Okay, I must have been incredibly clear. There are no questions, or maybe you just haven't had a chance to think about them so far. That's okay. You all have my email address, wayne@takeactionresults.com. So if you think of a question in the next day or so, you're welcome to email me, or just book that 15-minute meeting at takeactionresults.com/15-minute, and we can have it then. So I want to thank each and every one of you for the time that you've spent with me today. I hope you took something of value out of this. And regardless of whether I hear from you or not, have a fantastic day and the best of success in the future. Bye for now.